How many Polukranos do you think you're going to see at Friday Night Magic this week?
It's a mythic, so a few, a few.
It certainly makes you want to, watching this, what it can do, it certainly makes you want to play it.
Well, it definitely is one of the best things you could do if you have a whole bunch of mana in your anything ramp deck. Yeah. We look at it as a mythic rare. It's a Hydra. We got a lot of Hydras in this set. It's cool. Face the Hydra. It all kind of makes sense.
Because you cut me off after I read the first thing on my list. My real enemy, my nemesis, is Polukranos, World Eater.
End of your turn. Monstrous for 6. Target all of your soldiers.
On September 27th, 2013, Theros, the 62nd Magic expansion, introduced players to the plane of Theros for the first time. Theros contained many fan favorites that still see play today, including cards like Nykthos, Shrine to Nyx, Thoughtseize, and the Cycle of Monocolored Gods. Unlike most sets at the time, Theros contained many large green creatures that actually saw competitive play, something that had not happened in many years. Among all of these large green creatures, one creature stood above the rest: Polukranos, World Eater. Polukranos World Eater is a 5/5 legendary Hydra for 2 green and 2 generic. Polukranos has a monstrosity ability that can be activated for 1 green and XX, making it monstrous and giving it X +1/+1 counters. When Polukranos becomes monstrous, it deals X damage divided among creatures your opponents control, then each of those creatures deal damage to Polukranos equal to their power. Polukranos was a very pushed creature at the time of its printing, having great stats as a 5/5 for only 4 mana with the ability to take out opposing creatures. There was a ton of hype around Polukranos during spoiler season, and it did not disappoint. Polukranos immediately became one of the best payoffs for Green Devotion, with the help of Nykthos, Shrine to Nyx, being able to produce an absurd amount of mana. At its Pro Tour debut at Pro Tour Theros, Polukranos managed a top 4 finish in the hands of Makihito Mihara in his red-green Devotion deck. This deck was a Green Devotion deck that used Nykthos and mana-producing creatures to help power up large threats like Arbor Colossus, Garrett Caller of Beast, and Polukranos, while having great red utility cards in the sideboard like Mizzium Mortars and Burning Earth. Although missing the next Pro Tour, Polukranos came roaring back at Pro Tour Journey into Nyx. This was a block Pro Tour that only allowed cards from the Theros block to be legal. Although many players brought Polukranos to the event, only 2 players were able to manage a top finish: Yuki Ichikawa and Reed Duke. Ichikawa piloted a Naya monster deck that paired Polukranos with cards like Polis Crusher, Stormwrath Dragon, and Elspeth's Son's Champion. Although not being used as a payoff for crazy amounts of mana, Polukranos was still a big creature that could pick off smaller creatures with its monstrosity ability that threatened to block it. Reed Duke, although playing a different deck in Sultai control, played Polukranos for a similar reason. Having a large creature that can pick off smaller creatures is always nice to have, even in a control deck. Although only playing 1 in his list, it paired nicely with Prognostic Sphinx, as they were 2 must-answer threats. Although missing the next few Pro Tours in fields full of Pack Rats, Siege Rhinos, and Mantis Riders, Polukranos came roaring back at Pro Tour Dragons of Tarkir. Although not being able to compete in the skies with the many dragons flying around, Polukranos ruled the ground in Thomas Hendrick's top 8 red-green Devotion deck. Similar to Mihara's Devotion deck of the past, Hendrick's Devotion deck played small mana creatures and Nykthos to help power out large green permanents like Whisperwood Elemental, Dragonlord Atarka, and Nissa Worldwaker. At its final Pro Tour at Pro Tour Magic Origins, Paul Jackson managed a top 8 finish with a red-green Devotion deck similar to Thomas Hendrick's deck from the previous Pro Tour. In a field full of flying scissors and goblins, Polukranos proved to be very valuable, as its ability to pick off smaller creatures was put on full display. Jackson played 3 copies of Polukranos in his deck, proving that in a field full of powerful cons block cards, Polukranos was still one of the best around. After rotating from Standard, Polukranos struggled to find a place in Modern. Although Nykthos is a very powerful card, Modern has many cards that can answer it, like Blood Moon, Ghost Quarter, Molten Rain, and many others. Upon the creation of Pioneer, Polukranos has been featured in many different green devotion lists, typically as a one-of that can be hit off Storm the Festival and take down opposing creatures with its monstrosity ability, as it always did in Standard. Although not receiving a reprint to this day, Polukranos returned in Theros Beyond Death, featuring the new set mechanic Escape. Although not having its monstrosity ability anymore, it still can't help wanting to fight other creatures. When we eventually return to Theros once again, we can expect Polukranos to return to Standard and continue to fight even more creatures. Until then, we can look back at one of Magic's most powerful and unique Hydras of all time. Thank you to everyone who recommended we feature Polukranos in a history video. If you'd like to see your favorite card in the next history video, comment below what you'd like to see. I'm Commander Crane, and thanks for watching this episode of Card History.